Anne Waldman founded the Jack Kerouac School of Disembodied Poets with Allen Ginsberg in approximately 1973. She ran the St. Mark's Poetry Project for a number of years, and as far as I know was one of the co-founders. She was co-editor of Angel Hair magazine. She was the editor of The World, and then here is a quick list of books she wrote, and then we will, with no further ado, we'll have her reading for you. Fast-Speaking Woman, Vow to Poetry, In the Room of Never Grieve, Heart of the Revolution, Radical Presence, Journals and Dreams, Poems Stonehill from Stonehill, First Baby Poems, Life Notes, Iovis 1 and 2, which are just total masterpieces. If you haven't read them, run out and get them. Marriage is Sentence, Helping a Dreamer, Not a Male Pseudonym, Blue Mosque, Fait Accompli, War Crime, Out of This World, Dark Arcana, Giant Night, Skin Meat Bones, Killer Cure, The Romance Thing. And she's also editor and subject of numerous anthologies, and an all-around great person. I'd like to thank her very much for honoring us with her presence tonight. Let's please have a thunderous welcome for Anne Waldman.
Five female poets next to a block of ice. This was the dream where I left the palm and stereo at home, left my fatigues at home. I became lost in a theater of reading. I was provoked by aggressive how-to books, titles bobbing up out of the library as I passed those fluctuating shelves. Incapably positive chronicles, received ideas, but in no things received. The president is not projective thirst, you can be too. My hands are tongue-tied, more than Laura Riding knows. I open a volume, hands shaking, but my condition ordered me to salute. Heil! I felt like Queen Mab. I wanted to eat nightshade and ply the spirits of poesy out of their caves. My sisters, all four of them, reminded me of the library in Alexandria. Think of it before its sacking. Time is a spiral, and suggested how one might behave in such a place. Such a memory place, you need girlfriends to bow. Joanne was seen polishing marble. Diane remained in samadhi. Alice had her glasses on to scrutinize a miniature map. Eleni was eager for the card catalog. She started, and she was unscient. She held the future in a book. I was a lumpen proletariat, a deadbeat, a shaman. I wanted him, the only librarian in the room, fingers, to be a nurturing woman librarian. The world was askew. How to get it right? Stacks of Glassine, Robert Duncan, Olson, Finn, weathered Ginsberg, his pages long with hair. It was all about Spicer's Grail, the Enron scandal. It was all about death in war, torture. The empire of reading was clear. You needed special glasses provided by Homeland Security, but there was no way home. There was no way secure, but something was going to change. Get born. This is a piece from a trip a few years ago to Venezuela. It's called Che Guevara Came to Me in a Dream. She dreams herself the mystic lover of Che Guevara, a corpse, indoctrinated in anti-imperialismo, and is roused to write an altruistic manifesto for the good of all humanity. Perhaps she will call it Earthlings. Human comes from the word humus. Remember your origins. Back then, she went to the party to meet Raul Castro, who was accessible as an infrastructure rationalist. Che has laughed at her Buddhist naivete, Ray taking up arms for revolution. When he pronounces oil lamp so carefully in English, what does that mean? Was planets a euphemism for missiles? Is this dream a rune about the Bay of Pigs she worried a long time ago? Es necesario, he mutters as he morphs into someone else. Something like that. A line from Cuban poet Nancy Morellón hovers in the ear. To bask in the afternoon sun in Havana, Cuba, free territory of America. Free territory? She has recently returned from a conference in Venezuela where everyone danced late into the night, although the subtext persisted in a drama between sex, poetry, and revolution. Revolution is a term that turns many ways. You needed a bodyguard on the ominous streets, more decorous occasions sponsored by banks and restaurants. Her passport is carefully scrutinized in all directions of space. Poetry aficionado teen fans share their tequila and marijuana at the decimated beach. They all bask in the sun, or surrogate mother is a better description for her role to Che in the actual dream. Like the boys she dreams she looks after in the large compound, in the ancillary dream, they count upon her savvy. Her son is writing a paper on Hugo Chavez. Is he a good guy or a bad guy, Mom? She brings home a statue of Maria Leonza and will pray to her for nuclear disarmament and the re-embodiment of Che. We need a William Burroughs to describe the addiction to power, to oil, to ideology in this increasingly bifurcated world of euphemism, lies, gulag, torture, the radical symmetry of displacement, the twist of bodies turn and burn, burn in the wind. Waterboarding? The whole world is watching. The whole world is watching. But is it? Is the homeland watching? Watching the mudslides? She interviews Sisto Cardinal, who speaks of the kingdom of heaven. Continents, continents, dear America, I'm a wrecker. It is not your American continent. Only planets will fly from their spheres, and an alembic oil lamp will flicker and turn emblematically in the beauty world. He said, somber now, sober now, from a torture site. And she said, out of what charnel ground do you rise to tell me this? This was a full blue-gray jacket. This was a uniform of control. This was a working family. The blue line held work. The lone blue line held teal, held maroon. The gray held a crown of subtlety. There was no need for royalty here. Lineage was dangerous, reeks of privilege, of scorn. The intellect kept dreaming, or did it? Red ink, right hand to ink you away. Red ink against you to make deportation, to mark you for your life, in spite of beautiful gaze of where you are from, which is vast. Where you are from, the skyline, the orchard, the alley, the camp, the road, the desert, whole anthropological worlds, Where is the intellect from? Is it green, the color of sunset, of straw? What other world is it? How may I get there? How far away is it from here, trapped in Guantanamo in a dead zone? How far in yellow? How far in mauve? This was an orange monkey suit. This was a lone white towel. This was a cup of water, of dark gruel. This was a wire cage. This was not a colorful rug for prayer. Cold, bare ground. And she, the oracle, said, muster men for war. Pick up the phrase, muster men for war, where relationships are fluid, marked by time spent in cages. Oh, shut them down, or fire bombing on the fringes of civilization, colors in the mechanism of concealment. Hot war, calculated terror, pyramid of severed human heads, this Tartar life, an endless war, and tall, soft boots, and he wore a tunic when in the east the steppe is higher, a long belted coat, quilted or fur-lined, and if one felt he were a Scythian, he could be that for you, a turban against the summer sun, come up a step, come up and rode a small horse, rather a pony, hardier than a horse, and fought from that horse with efficient bow on the left and arrows in a quiver on the right. And if he is rich, this one held sword or saber, but never underestimate the power of the bow. Weapons ban, a goal, a basket, a score, a genetic assist. For what purpose? No hidden agenda. Please keep power, ethics out in the open where we try to sleep but can't. Oh, and the difference, dear Anne, I am trying to notify you about the service recall to Iraq. Seems my wounded in action status is low. Can the school lawyers help? I need to spend my life in poetry, not on the killing fields of Iraq. A weapons whose spines are weapons, whose spines are weapons, a cordillera of pleasure taught bow this fine lady's curve, and the dead step into a new world. Corset. Oh, I could always use a little more light. Oh, well, maybe a little too much. Corset. This is a little tribute to Emma Goldman. What is it to be corset maker? Well, you know, she worked in a corset factory at the age of, I think, 17. Emma Goldman in Russia. Corset. What is it to be corset maker, binding the bone and cotton in a daily sweat of labor and purpose? What is it to know the sweat of all you, my sister workers of daily living, surviving an economic purse string purpose? What is it to be declared the most dangerous of purpose when J. Edgar Hoover has your number? And what is it here now in St. Petersburg, hungry and anxious and soul stirring for surviving my purpose? What is the cause of insomniac passion, my further disillusionment in your systems, in your many systems, and all the systems that bind the bone in this labor to you, who will always profit off the labor of Emma's hands, sewing, binding, aching, toiling, bone and cotton in the class struggle, a dangerous purpose. You want to call it that? Well, you can call it that, and it's so much more, but do call it that, and you will, I'm sure, call it that, and most dangerous of violence and terror too, and what of a Spanish Civil War I'll call wake up, all minions, I'll call arise, and would cast in a daily sweat of labor, a struggle, a sweet edge that way, for it's an energy of daily sweat and toil to be free of the fascisms of how and when and why, oh, never free of J. Edgar Hoover, but my imagination ever free of the imagination of J. Edgar Hoover, who will surely most certainly have your number in his fractious labor and psychopathic toil even now, when he, the ghost of fractious J. Edgar Hoover, is stalking, haunting the workplaces, the meeting places, the commune of all my sweat and purpose. What is it to be a large woman bespeckled in intent and my libertarian socialist moment to incite a riot? What is it to be thus called trouble and to be forever unpopular with authorities, to be watched and goaded and arrested and in lockdown? What kind of terror moment is this? And will it survive and assassinate a president, this kind of moment? Will it survive McKinley? Will it survive psychopathic, fractious J. Edgar Hoover? And will the ghosts of Haymarket stalk the Union Hall still in that old purpose? And will now, sisters, break the corset that binds the moment? Well, I had my ego and 2 grams of hash, sat down in a corridor, sat down in a spook-like corridor, in a roofless space, in a jewel-tight box corridor, corridor of pyramid dream power. Well, I had my ego and 2 grams of hash, sat down in a Toltec corridor, in a farewell medicine dance corridor, in a swift dust storm corridor, in a subatomic plenum corridor, roar, 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 roar. Well, I had my ego and a wounded heart, sat down in the angriest Bedouin's corridor, in a slum landscape tenement corridor, in a demon taking my breath away corridor, in a blazing war-scarred corridor. Well, I had my ego and 2 grams of hash, sat down in a sinking sun corridor, in a neurological pain corridor, in a bright light corridor, in a corridor of Bardo dream power. Well, I had my ego and an aspiring heart, sat down in a Buddha field corridor, in a Prajna Paramita corridor, in a Bodhisattva's endless continuum corridor, in a rising in the east woman corridor, in a corridor of dream power. Well, I had my ego and I started to sing, and I never slept that way corridor, in a single-minded corridor, in a scepter of the deities corridor, and transcend this passion corridor, in a wearing out of the syllables, in a wearing out of the syllables, in a bardo corridor, roar, roar, roar. Thank you so much. It's great to be here in this unbroken, continuous line of the Tom Peters readings, now over 17 years and 21 years. Oh my God. You're aging me, Tom. And the concomitant parallel realm of the Naropa summer program, the Kerouac School summer program, which is so happy to have Amiri here and so many others, Tracy Morris, Kristen Prevolet, Louis McAdams, Leanne Brown, and many others. Eileen, my God, I didn't know you were all here. My God, the faculty's here. This is, oh. I've been at the school all day, so I'm not sure what to do here. I'm just very, very scattered. No, this is not what I want to do. Let's see what else we have. I need my glasses. So come on over to Naropa. There's a lot of interesting discourse on political activism, ecology, what we can do in terms of the next election, which is happening in our neighborhood, and organizing going on with the tent city people and Rage Against the Machine and various ways to keep the agenda, progressive. We have our concerns. Yes, there's an open reading on the 4th of July at the PAC space at Naropa, and it's sponsored by the Poets Party. We write our own speeches, and please come. You can play with pre-existent texts, read things that of your own, kind of around the themes of what's going on. Global positioning. That the shoe fits for the inaugural demonstration should not surprise you. That you are in an Abraham Lincoln free speech mode of wait and wonder. that someone, a family member, perhaps she who does things, was there last night, and that the conversation about coal and coated provoked this outburst, that the president-select said vulcanize when he meant to say galvanize, and you thought that was a rubber kind of slip, that big business is ruining your hometown, that the family member perhaps dreamed of later phoned with two questions, that one of them concerned the discrepancy between lore and love, because she was confused when the president-select said disimprobably about the sex life of his predecessor, and she was glued to a talk show that wanted you to be confused, yet think their way, that you tried to get her to pitch the other question about the financial mortality of the Roman Senate when it was worrying the question of supremacy, that all you wanted was a Supreme Court of your own. And you said that repeatedly as you marched around the august Roman building way up in Washington, D.C., where they run your life from, and that what you were doing was a witchy kind of spell thing, was this land is mine, this is mine, I am an American, this was always mine, I speak the language, I pay the tax, I want my own Supreme Court. It was never yours. You never voted properly. It was never easy to read the score from the dugout, that the game is transnational now, that continental hegemony is not your game. It never will be. It never was. You never were a player. That pensioners are always looking for empty bottles in the city dump out by the ballpark and never finding them, because some of the world is recycling bottles before they get out that far into the city dump out by the ballpark, and never had one. You never knew, because you are far from a telephone, and because you never had one, you never knew how to stay in touch. But it was never the intention of human beings to live by honeyed gadgets only, that they might never work for you, and the bottle glass breaks easily. It never would hold together for you, although you could be found always wandering the sights of waste and want, even if you couldn't see the global positioning machines that accumulate above your head, far above your head. You would never need to know that they might pinpoint your exact whereabouts as you wander the sights of waste and want near the city dump, out by the glamorous stars-studded ballpark, thinking about glass and its antecedents. I'll read from Marriage's Sentence. This is the stereo part someone asked me to read. Marriage is like you say, everything in stereo, fall on the bed at dawn, because you work all night. Night is an apartment meant to be marriage is an apartment, and people come in, because when you marry, chances are there will be edibles to eat at tables in the house will be the apartment, which is night, there will be a bed, an extra bed, a clean sheet or two for guests, one extra towel. How will you be welcomed? There will be drinks galore, brought by armies of guests, casks of liquors and brandies, elixirs, sweet and bitter, bottle of Merlot, Bustelo, coffee. Will you have some when I offer? When you are married, there will be handsome gifts for the kitchen, sometimes two of everything. Everything is brand new espresso, coffee cups, a finish plate, a clock, a doormat, pieces of art and books of astonishing medical science with pictures, even richer lexicons. When you were married, there will be more sheets and towels arriving, and often a pet or two. You definitely need a telephone and a cell phone when you were married. Two lines. You need separate electronic mail Electronic mail accounts. When you are married, you will have sets of things of more sheets and towels matching. You will have duplicates of things. You will have just one tablecloth. When you are married, you will be responsible. When neighbors greet you, you will smile in unison, or you might say, oh, he is fine. Oh, she is fine. Oh, she's just down with a cold. Oh, he is consoling a weary traveler just now, arrived from across the plains. She, my husband, is due home soon. He, my wife, is busy at the moment. My husband, she is very, very busy at this this very moment meant goodbye. When you are married, sex will happen without delay. You will have a mailbox, doorbell, bell, ring, rings it again a double time. You do not have to answer that, sure, for when you are married, people understand. You do not have to answer a doorbell, because sex may happen without delay. You will hear everything twice through your ears and the ears of the other, her or him, as a case may be he and she as a case may be. When you are married, you can play with names and rename yourself if you like. You can add a name, have a double name with a hyphen if you like. You can open joint accounts when you are married. Marriage is no guarantee against depression. A shun is no guarantee against anything. Marriage is no guarantee against resolution. Revolution is a tricky word here. Hear marriage. Marriage is sweeter than you think. Okay, just a few more before Amiri comes up. How's everybody doing? It's a little warm in here. Okay, this is, I'm missing a page of this. Skip it. No, it's got the most interesting part about Palestine. I've just been, working all day here. That's why I'm very scattered. I apologize. Okay. 1, 2, and 3. I think I'll just... This is Manatee Humanity, and it's a chant, a sort of litany part from a much longer book that I'm working on now. I need to finish up soon, which moves all over the place, but this has a little bit of cohesiveness. It's just a litany about the manatee, and the CD with Ambrose buys music for some of these pieces will be released next week. So, and that's called Matching Half, and it's also with Akila Oliver. Manatee Humanity. The manatee is found in shallow, slow-moving rivers, The manatee moves in estuaries, moves in saltwater bays. The manatee in moving moves gently. The manatee is to be found in canals and coastal areas. The manatee is a migratory animal. The manatee is gentle and slow moving. The manatee moves in slow moving rivers slowly. The manatee is completely herbivorous. The West Indian manatee has no natural enemies. The manatee has no natural enemies but unnatural man. The manatee is constantly threatened by man, unnaturally man with his boats and plastic and attitude. The manatee often drowns in canal locks of man, man who makes no concession to manatee. The manatee often dies in flood control structures, man who makes no concession to manatee nor cares of manatee life, manatee fortune. The manatee dies in collision with watercraft, man who does not protect the manatee. What steward of the earth is this unnatural man, man who makes no concession to manatee? The manatee dies with the ingestion of fish hooks, man who unnaturally makes no concession. The manatee dies from litter and monofilament lines, man who is rank in attitude has no use for manatee. The manatee dies entrapped in crab trap lines. The manatee dies from loss of habitat claimed by man. The manatee is maimed by man. The manatee could be aided by man. Man, oh aid the manatee. Come to the manatee heart. A manatee calf is born every 2 to 5 years. A manatee gestates for a year in the manatee womb. 8,400 miles of tidal waters could be for the manatee. 11,000 miles of rivers and stream could be for the manatee. 10,000 miles of canals, would they all be for the manatee? The manatee has more gray matter in the brain than man. The manatee is perhaps thinking archivally deeper than man. Ancient days of manatee, so many thousands of years. Manatee mind, what is the mind of manatee? The manatee has no natural enemies. The manatee is completely herbivorous. The metabolism of the manatee is slow, moves slowly. The manatee moves in estuaries, moves in saltwater bays. The manatee moves in slow-moving rivers. The manatee offspring nurses for up to 2 years. The manatee learns everything from the manatee mother. The manatee mothers and offspring sing to one another. The manatee have large ear bones, chirps, whistles, squeaks of the manatee. The manatee in moving slowly moves gently. Oscillations of the manatee moving between the manatee ears, ears of the manatee mother and manatee offspring. Manatee are our sirenians and live in the house of the sirens. Where are the human sanctuaries for the manatee? Manatees, mermaids, sirens singing move slowly. The manatee mother and calf so bonded, female manatee bonded with their just one manatee offspring. The manatee is found in shallow, slow-moving rivers. The manatee moves in estuaries, moves in saltwater bays. The manatee in moving moves gently. And Jeb Bush took the manatee off the endangered species list, and quite a few of these wounded animals, you see them in aquariums and the like, water shows, often very scarred from the monofilament lines and so on. Encountered a few in some recent travels. Okay, I need to end with something. Let's see. Okay, this is from hanging out in the Ghetto Vecchio in Venezia, in Venice. So this was a very, we talked about walls the first week at Naropa. So this is a very prescribed area, the ghetto in Venice in the 14th century, even earlier, actually, early, well, 13th century, late 13th century. And I thought of this situation in Gaza. So there's a little bit of play between ghetto and Gaza. It's called Problem Not Solving. And metal was cast in the dream of the ghetto, and metal was forged for cannons, 1390 in in Pre, in the nightmare of ghetto, and laboratory of ghetto, a mental mentality, for it takes a long arm, hatching this mentality of force of problem not solving. Problem not solving your ghetto in the name of decree and forging a metal mentality with harming arms, and where you can live under a low ceiling, where you can live in problem not solving 5,000 in a crammed room. Undream it now of your nightmare, not allowed into the light of other campos and canals, your arms held and not able to reach out across a map, a city divided, and problem not solving. Undream problem not solving, nightmare of ghetto, of problem not solving, your nightmare of time of this ghetto. You want to stretch your human fleshly arms outside the walls towards campos and canals. You want to stretch your rare fleshly arms out of here, reach out of harm's way towards campos and canals, but you can only live here in this curfew of time, this pre-time before dawn until Napoleon allows. You can live here, oh, live elsewhere. Oh, please step outside, you say to Palestine, you who are in pre-dream time ghetto astride campos and canals. You are my problem, I am not your problem. Grazie. And under Austrian rule, come back inside ghetto in this nightmare, 1797, this pre-dawn state of arsenal of Palestine, old way back, Palestine, what of its rip and tears, its tears and weeping, its ghetto. I mark this for you, I say this for you, tears and more weeping, carved in stone, in metal of poem time, in scripture of 21st century winds, and then the dream of a full-fledged, full-time arsenal, tears and weeping toward metal. What do you do? What do we have to do? Or why do we have to do? Air strikes, problem not solving, 13 dead again in ghetto Palestine, when this arsenal of problem not solving is long range rocket revenge towards Ashkelon. No one hurt in Ashkelon, 10 kilometers north of Gaza. Oh, remember Gaza, revenge in airstrikes, Gaza, and the fine elliptical gallery for women only. Sit here, my dear, drowned, dead, decimated sister, my one next to me in this nightmare of ghetto and arsenal and Palestine. Describe the body parts you sifted from the trees. Sift through the body parts, sift from scattered trees of Zion, of Palestine. 3 walls, 3 ways to undream this problem, dear, dead body parts. And say 3 times, I will not do to them what has been done to me. I will not do to them what has been done to me. I will not do to them what has been done to me. Hit with metal mentality, forged in metal. Hit the word sidrat, hit the word grad, hit with harm, your problem not solving, scary alliances. 12 dear dead bodies, parts east of Jabalia, undream the dead, take back word dead, not Jubilee, and more in Gaza, more in ghetto Gaza, this old unsolved Gaza now guards in the nightmare, this new century inventory of state of arsenals and problem not solving, problem not solving, problem not solving, problem not solving, problem not solving. I will sit here and sound here and reach out arms, human. Thank you.